Right now, the seas are quiet, the skies are empty, and our roads less traveled. But it's only a matter of time before the world starts moving again. And when it does, there is one source to count on for all your travel needs. We are Expedia Cruises, and we are more than just cruise vacations. Whether it's custom vacation packages, tours, all-inclusive resorts, or flights, hotels, and activities, we are here to plan, book, and safeguard every leg of your journey. Visit expediacruises.com and we will help you secure your travel by phone, online, or at an Expedia Cruises location in your neighborhood, where you can get the advice you seek, no matter what your dream vacation might be, air, land, or sea. Expedia Cruises, air, land, and sea vacations.
All right, that was fantastic. I can't even imagine having an Expedia Cruises rally without our Beautiful Life intro video. So I hope that came through for all of you guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our consultant rally. My name is Stefan, and along with the other 15 franchise partners participating in this event, I feel very fortunate to be hosting you tonight. We have over 225 consultants joining us, which is absolutely fantastic. On behalf of the franchise partners on the call, we would like to thank you for taking the time to participate in this Zoom presentation. We are all very pleased to welcome 3 great industry leaders to our rally. We would like to express our deep gratitude to them for their generous support tonight. On the call tonight, we have Kathy Denroche, who has over 40 years experience in the travel industry. Amazing. Kathy is very passionate about the travel industry and supporting you and is excited to be part of this presentation. We also have Chad Kowalenko with us tonight. Chad has been involved in the travel industry for over 25 years and is highly respected in the industry for his unwavering support of travel consultants. Finally, we are also excited to welcome Geraldine Reed on our Zoom call. Geraldine has spent over 25 years in leadership positions and has even published a book that is coming out tomorrow. Geraldine is our first presenter, and I'm sure she will tell us all about her new book shortly. Geraldine, please kick us off with our first presentation.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you. Yes, I'm clapping for everybody and moving to that beautiful live video. It would not be complete, and I am just so thrilled to be here and to be with Expedia Cruises. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a business coach and I help travel entrepreneurs take their business to a whole new level. And I spent the 12 most glorious years of my career at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers at the time, helping build sales programs. And of all the things that I did over all the years, and I have so many incredible memories, what stands out for me most of all is working with the travel consultants. Just watching you in action just makes my heart sing, and so much so that I have dedicated the next chapter in my life in really helping the entire industry, because I firmly believe more than anything else that a vacation is best served in the hands of a travel professional. And it's up to all of us, from the franchise partners, the suppliers, the entire industry, to make sure that you are bigger, bolder, better than ever as we do this amazing bounce back together. So I am thrilled to talk to you tonight about really how we're going to do that. So the theme, as you can see, is bigger, bolder, better. So you're going to need paper, you're going to need pens. I mean, I can see you sitting on the couches having wine. That's okay too. But I really want you've taken a night out of your very precious time with your family, and I really want to dedicate and be in service to you tonight. So we're going to pack a lot of information in a very short period of time of how you can bounce back better, bigger, bolder. So as you're looking in your notes or thinking to yourself, of the 3, bigger, better, bolder, where do you see yourself 3 years from now when this thing is cooking with gas? If you could only pick one of those words, which one would it be? Would it be bolder, like our beautiful Kathy Denroche, who just inspires, she epitomizes bold, better, bigger? What would it be? And I really think that sort of maps out what I'm going to talk to you for about the next 20 minutes or so, is that you need bolder. You need to be yourself and do the business the way you love to do the business and sell the products you're passionate about. That's so important. And you need big dreams. I mean, great big dreams. And you have them. I know you do. That's why you're here tonight. But we can't get to bolder and bigger until we work on better. And so that's where I'm going to start tonight, is really talking about what is better. Well, better is simply a business doing what you love, which is what we do, make dreams come true, and doing it with who you love the way you love to do that. And, in doing research for helping travel professionals with their business, it's really not what you think. We often think bigger first, but in actual fact, a beautiful travel business is 250 to 500 Seven Seas prospects sailing every 18 months to 2 years. That's $1 million travel business. It's about really having relationships and customers for life with those really important people and letting them know how important they are to you. So better starts with really understanding the gold mine that you are sitting on, which is this incredible wealth of people that you know and people that you love. And it's time to really think about what would amazing look like as far as having better relationships with my customers and my prospects. For a lot of you, you might be starting, and I can only imagine. I started in the travel business. I came from the food industry, and I can only imagine if you started just prior to the pandemic or started in the pandemic. And all I can say to you is, well, two things. First of all, the first 100 is the hardest. Ask anybody else in the room or your franchise partners or anybody in the travel industry. Your first 107 Cs are the hardest to find and to nurture. Your first 100,000 is the hardest to sell. But if you can do it, if you can stay with us. And the second thing is that all the rest of us need to help you stay with it, because the industry needs you. We are not going to have enough consultants, because it's going to be so important to work with a professional to vacation in the future. So really, please just know this is that we're with you. But if you're like a lot of people in this room, that you were on a high going into the pandemic, 2020 was going to be your best year ever, I want you to think about, are you going to come back higher than you were before? Do you think you're going to come in at the same point? Or do you think you're going to struggle to get where you were? Just take a minute and think about your business and really think about what that looks like. If you're like most people that I've talked to in the last weeks and months, most people are now feeling like, yes, I am actually going to come back better, or at least as good as I was. And I think that's fantastic. There's this amazing optimism, but we've got work to do to get there. We have to think about, how are we going to break through and make this business better? Just prior to the pandemic, I was doing research for my book. Thank you, Stefan, for giving it a plug. And it's a passion project that came alive in October, when I really wanted to dedicate this book to the travel industry, because we have worked, it's been a long year. But prior to going into the pandemic, and I did the research, I asked advisors, what could you do, if anything, to make your business better? Or what are the biggest roadblocks you have? And they said they said 5 things. 2 really stood out for me. The first was not enough time. We're just way too busy. And if you take that one step further, it's too busy, not enough time, too much work for the money. And the second thing was always not enough high-end, high-value clients. And as long as I've been in the travel business, that has been a roadblock. So going to the first one, the too busy, we are killing the front line. It is a tough job that you consultants have to do. There are so many things you have to know, supplier policies, price changes. So there's no question, just doing your role is challenging. But then you bring in the technology that's wearing us all out. In his book, Hyper Focus by Chris Bailey, I highly recommend this. He is actually a genius about how you block out all the noise and you just focus on what's really important. There's so many things that take our mind away. We change applications 560 times a day. We look at our phones 150 times a day. Our attention is interrupted every 40 seconds when we're in front of a computer, and it's 35 seconds if you have your applications on. So why am I saying all this? I like to think about how busy we are and how busy we really, you need to choose your busy. And I like to think of it, my son is a basketball player, or he was, he's graduated now, but any mom of a basketball player knows about the 10,000 shots. So you need to take 10,000 shots in order to have mastery over basketball. And I watch my son faithfully. And if you actually bounce a basketball, it actually takes a lot of effort to get the ball to come back exactly to where you are, because of gravity. The air inside it actually makes it lug in the air. If you compare that to a lacrosse ball, it's dense. There's no air in it. And if I took that same amount of energy, exact same amount of energy, and I bounced that ball, it would go up to the ceiling. So what we need to do to solve the busy is really choose our busy and get rid of all the unwanted air. And what I want to do over the next few minutes is help you really be fierce about bouncing your ball and making this business better for the comeback. Looking forward, what do I see in my crystal ball? I see success. I'm looking at a room of people who've all turned up to figure out, how are we going to bounce back together? We need to do this. We need community. But I'll tell you something else that I'm also hearing. I'm losing confidence. I'm not doing what I used to do. And that's okay. Even the most brilliant among us, when you're not doing everything you do for customers, it's easy to get intimidated. It is easy to feel like I don't want to go out there and be big anymore because I'm just not in the groove. You know, your energy comes from sending people on vacation and having them come back with that bottle of, you know, vanilla or schnapps from the Danube. I mean, that's what you get your energy from. And when you're not getting that, I get how depleting that is. But we need to push all of that aside and think about the positive that it will get better, but we've got work to do. We've got work to do right now. We have to take care of this precious time we have together to help really focus on how we're going to make our business better. So now that we've thought about, okay, we've got to focus and we've got to really focus on what's really important, we want to think about how do we make it bigger, because bigger is important. So think about your travel business, the biggest number that you can absolutely come back from 3 years from now. If you could have the travel business of your dreams, how big would it be? So just write that number down. You're in the privacy of your own home. Nobody can see your notes. How big would that travel business be? And then I want you to take a zero and put that behind it. So if you said 100,000, you're going to be at 1 million. If you did 1 million, you're going to be at 10 million. And you think, she's crazy. I can't do that. But yes, you can. You know, the amazing speaker, Dan Sullivan, talks about why 10x is more important than 2x. And this is why you have to dream really big. Because if you think about coming back exactly where you were, gravity is going to bring you down lower. You already know how to do what you did before, and you'll just try and do the same things you did before. And you don't have the energy, you don't have the enthusiasm. But if you think, I want to be the top celebrity salesperson in all of Alberta, or I want that world cruise. I want 10 world cruises with Oceania. If you dream big, what happens is your mind is like a heat-seeking missile saying, okay, how do we go figure this out? And I've never asked an entrepreneur, and I've been asking this question for over 3 years, if you had all the time and all the resources and coaching, do you think you could do it? And of course you could. The answer is always yes, because you know you can. You just have to, you know, whatever follows I am is. So if I am going to do this, your brain will absolutely take you there. So big dreams are really important. The other thing you want to do is have a vision for what that looks like. So a motion picture of you actually being there and doing that. Put yourself on the back of a cruise ship or on your front porch of your cabin and think about, what does that really look like? So the next piece of it is, who are you serving? We can't be all things to all people. If there's one message that I have for you tonight, is that really think about who you're in service to. Who lights you up when you work with them? Really think about your database and think, okay, maybe I can't get to 1,000 people this week, or maybe I can't make 100 calls. But if you had to make 10 phone calls, who would be the first 10 people that you would call? Who is in your inner circle? And work out from there. I like to think of it as, you know, rebuilding your database from the bottom of your heart up. And when we're flying at 30,000 feet and we're doing this business and we are booking and we are selling and people are traveling, we never have the time to really think about our business and really think about who we're in service to and who our ideal customers are. You have two beautiful suppliers here tonight, Celebrity and Oceania. And I know what you're doing. I've done it. You're sitting and you're going to listen to Chad talk about the beautiful Apex, or you're going to listen to Kathy talk about Oceania. And you're going to bring Betty and Bob with you tonight in the evening. We always bring our ideal customers with us and we think about them, and that's what we need to be doing. And how can we do even more of that? So who are you in service to? And the last piece about bigger, this big vision you have, is I want you to think about your purpose. I want you to think about your unique ability. The reason this is really important is that everybody talks about, well, you know, why are you in the travel business? If somebody asked you, why, you know, what's unique about you? Why are you in the travel business? I can almost guarantee one word is going to come out. Anybody know what that is? I can't, you're all muted, but you're probably saying passion. If I looked at 100 websites, including my own, passion would probably come up in the first 2 paragraphs, because I get it. This is a beautiful life. And, you know, I saw all the people chiming in going, when can we cruise? When can we cruise? I mean, I cannot wait to get on a ship. Passion is a given. So we've got to dig a little deeper. We got to talk about what's our purpose. Why are we how we are? You have a unique ability. You've had it since you were born, and you get better and better and better at it your whole life. And that's what customers come to you for. Heck, that's what everybody in Expedia Cruise Ship Centers loves you for. It's right in front of you. And you just have to say the words out loud. If I said to you that I was enthusiastic and I had grit and I was encouraging, people who know me, would you nod your head? I hope so. I hope so, because those are my words. That's me. What are your words? And if I showed up here and I was enthusiastic, I'm in brand. And that's how I want you to deliver your travel business is I want you to think about what are your words? What makes you unique? There is no competition for you. You can only do you and nobody else can. So that's the second piece of doing this bigger. The last piece of this, and I want to, I know that we've got lots to go through tonight, but I really want to talk about bolder. And while better and bigger, bigger and better, better and bigger are external to you, they're things that you can work on. Your boldness comes from within. And I firmly believe that your approach to the travel business is as important as the business itself. How you show up every day is paramount to you being able to get things done. And I get it. You go on Facebook, you go anywhere, and it's tough news everywhere. And it's been a long year and it's drawn out. So I want to give you a little tool for you to really take yourself through every day, every season, every, evolution of this business to help you with the day to day so that you can show up in the arena and you can take this business forward. And this is my bounce back model. And this is my other side of breakthrough. So I want you to imagine yourself there's 5 different states of breakthrough. We get stuck, where we were, we don't know how much we want to engage. We're not sure. I just announced to my family we were doing an Alaska cruise, and I get it. 2 out of the 5 people said, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not. This is 2022. And, I get it when you're making those calls and you hear people are out, it's hard to sort of understand. And because people don't understand the difference between traveling and booking. We do because we're in the travel business, but the average consumer doesn't understand that. So how do we go through every single day and get up for the next call when the last call said, oh, not yet. And that's okay. We're not here to tell people when to travel. We're just showing up to say, when are you ready? So there's an evolution that we all go through, and it's from falling to flying. And there's 5 stages. So the first stage is falling, and then we stall, and then we crawl, and then we rise, and then we fly. And I'm going to teach you how to go from one stage to the next. So we all know flying. March 13th, the world stopped traveling, and we took a collective, absolute fall. A free fall. We did not know the definition of falling is when the knees get knocked out from under you, your breath gets taken away, you get a sucker punch, you weren't expecting it. And so it can be a big one like the pandemic, or it can be, when you find out a client has booked somewhere else. It's that thing that just goes, is this really happening in all orders of magnitude? To get from falling to stalling, there's one thing you need to do. And that is you need to make sense of it. You need to ask yourself, is this real? Is this true? Is this story I heard actually happening? Is there other things that I could do to mitigate that? What are the experts saying? Do you remember when we were falling, we all looked to Bonnie Henry in BC, with Dr. Tam, the CDC. We looked to the experts, people sorted it out. And eventually all of us at different times stopped falling. We made sense of it. So we got to the stalling. The stalling stage can be actually the most contrary to your travel business of all of the stages, because the stalling can look like you're flying. You know that duck that glides across the water and they're looking all really great and everybody goes, oh, look at her go, isn't she great? And meanwhile, under the water, you're paddling like crazy because you do not have it together. You are overwhelmed. Something's going on for you. So what you need to do when you're stalling and you don't want to engage and you're sitting there saying, oh, I see everybody else making calls, or I see other people getting bookings for 2022 and I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. the worst thing you can do is stand still, because it doesn't get any easier. Fear has a way of reinforcing itself, and you end up not moving for a very long time. So the antidote to stalling is movement. Do something, even the smallest little thing, because the joy that you'll get out of connecting with someone who appreciates the call just to say hello, or that, the event that you're attending tonight, this is action. But don't put it, this is thinking, and you want to turn thinking into action. When you listen to Chad and Kathy tonight, and they are going to give you a million amazing ideas, you can't know it all, but commit tonight to do one thing that each of them say, and that moves you from that really important move from stalling to crawling. So when you get to crawling, you wonder, why is it on this side? Why haven't we crossed the line when we're crawling? So crawling in your business feels like you're on the side of that mountain and the wind is blowing and you're working really hard to go up the mountain, but the fear, everything is so fierce against you, it's coming at you. You're actually 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And no one can blame you if you feel like that right now, because you're doing all these wonderful things. You're coming to the rally tonight. You're investing in your business. You say, I want to do this. I'm sticking it out. Oh my gosh, franchise partners, you're amazing. My heart and soul goes out to everybody on the call, because it's such a long year without the currency that we're used to, the putting people on cruises and watching advisors hit diamond and all those things we're used to. But here's what I'm going to tell you about stalling. The most important thing when you're crawling, the most important thing you can do when you're crawling is you need to start sprinting. What do I mean by sprinting? Sprinting is what I've come to term, if anybody has done, if you have not yet read, I've got a million books here for you, but Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I can send you a link to all these wonderful resources, but this book has gone absolutely viral. I think it is the fastest selling book of all time. Why? Because it's not the things that we do, it's the habits that hold us back. And this is where the confidence happens. This is when you move from crawling to rising, because you want to get really good at, you want your 10,000 basketball shots. So you need to pick a habit, something you know that's holding you back. Something, it can be anything. It can be you want to only use Facebook for business, or it could be you want to read a book every day. It can be any habit that you do. Walk around the block. I did this with a client who just went out. She'd been in her apartment for a year and she just was housebound. So whatever your habit, it doesn't matter what you choose. That's not the point. The point is, to get to rising, you need to do something consistently for your business or your life every day for 30 days, non-negotiable. Just take it on. Get an accountability buddy that you can text back and forth to say, I did it, I did it, I did it. So right now, decide, what habit do you want to work on? And I promise you that if you do one thing consistently for 30 days and you get it's not the habit, it's the confidence you get that I set a goal, I tackled it, and I did it. Now I want to do another one. And that you add that to your business, and all of a sudden you're rising. And the last stage, and I know I'm running really close to the hour here, but this one is an emotional one for me, because when you rise, you are almost there. You're almost there. You've got your business going. You think, okay, I'm happy with what I've got. I've got bookings starting to happen. What makes me fly in a pandemic? How can I possibly have the confidence to say I'm flying? Is that tone deaf? People around me are struggling and here I am flying. Well, the first thing I want to say to you is, when you're having a great day and you're flying and things are going well, absolutely share it with someone. So you rise every day at the end of the day when you put your pen down and you said, I gave it my all today. I did the very best I could. And that's all I can expect of myself. And then I'm going to ask my family, I'm going to ask a friend, I'm going to say, how was your day? And congratulate them on their success, because rising isn't about you. It's about all the people that you care about that are around you. And, the end of the book is a very special story by Mike Drever, who is the founder of what was then Cruise Ship Centers and a very longtime childhood friend of mine. And he taught me about rise. Rise is when you celebrate every day the goodness of the people around you. And he had a bell, the Holland America bell, installed in his office. And every time an agent booked a cruise, they would go out and they would ring that bell, and he got everybody moving and celebrating the success of each other, not just their own success. And the layer behind that, which was so moving to me, is that he said, Geraldine, if I heard that bell, I knew that we were getting a booking a day and I could make the payroll. And that's really real. If he hadn't fought through and done that work, and the beautiful leadership team now that are at Expedia Cruise Ship Centers and Expedia Cruises now and building technology for you, and your franchise partners doing everything, it's a team effort. So lots of rising, lots of celebrating, and we will go from falling to flying, and we're going to kill this bounce back. So that is my little big ideas for the day. It's been just gorgeous talking to all of you. I'm going to scroll now madly and see all of your faces, and I'm going to introduce, it is my greatest pleasure to introduce the invincible, the one and only Chad Kowalenko from Celebrity Cruises. Chad, take it away.
Thanks very much, Geraldine. Wow. I wish we were all together in person so we could hear the applause, because I think in my 14 years with the Royal Caribbean Group of companies, I've had the pleasure of watching you speak a lot of times, and you always nail it, and I'm always inspired and learn something from you. I made some notes for myself tonight, but thanks very much, Geraldine. That was really excellent. So I'm going to have a little bit of a share with a deck with you guys tonight to help keep me on track for some of the stuff that I want to share. So give me a moment here. We'll do some screen sharing, and then one of you can give me a thumbs up when you can see the PowerPoint. So Randy, I can see you in my world here. Can you just give me a quick thumbs up when you see the Expedia slide there? You're good? Okay, perfect. And now with the world of Zoom, I need to figure out how we're actually going to move my bar here so that I can start the PowerPoint. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, all good? Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I hope you're feeling inspired, and the timing is good to be inspired. So, you know, for me, my portion of tonight, a lot is to talk about the timing of your franchise partners putting this together and how perfect that timing is for the tide that seems to be turning in Canada and for our industry. So this is definitely not just an Expedia Cruises rally tonight. This is a wake-up call. This is a rally cry. And trust me, we've got some things that to share with you tonight to make sure that you're ready to move ahead and take some of those tips that Geraldine brought forward tonight and put them into motion. The one thing that I did also just want to mention, you know, Zoom is an interesting environment, and you're all watching through an iPad or a laptop screen tonight. And so you get, you know, you can kind of think, who are they talking to? Like, it's kind of talking to Expedia as a whole. When we take the time out to connect with you guys, it's about you as individuals that we're talking to. So every little box that I can see tonight, I'm not talking to a center. I'm not talking to Northern Alberta. This is meant for you, for each and every one of you as individuals, to make sure that we can have some conversations after tonight and get you well on your way to restarting what is the best industry in the world. So when we say, how do you know when it's time? That might be a little bit of a different answer for each of us. But as long as you walk away from tonight with your answer, whatever that answer is for you, I think that's the most important thing. One thing I can certainly tell you is over the last 15 months of having literally hundreds of Zoom meetings with all of the travel agencies across Canada, it's very clear to me that there is a percentage of the travel agents in the industry that are feeling really beat up and deflated. And there is a other certain percentage of people that have dusted themselves off and they're ready to kind of get back to making good things happen. Because you already have so many good things going for you under the model and the support of Expedia Cruises and your franchise partners in this big family that we are. You're already ahead of the pack and ahead of the game. But I do want to give you some things to think about tonight that if you've been on the fence and having some bad days, it might help change your perspective a little bit, because it really is all about perception. And I love Geraldine's quote tonight, choose your busy. I'm going to use that, Geraldine. I love that. That's really one thing that we're all going to have to start to do, because life has changed and will continue to be different for quite some time. And so as we get busy in lots of ways to restart the industry and kind of what our role is going to be, I think choosing your busy is going to be critical for all of us, because there's only so many hours in the day and we better be laser focused. What was the other thing you had said? Oh, you can't be all things to all people. You've got to really laser focus. So that's one of the things that we've got to do. But there is opportunity happening right now. And I can tell you, even in a period where a lot of accounts went dark, we watched as other accounts said, no, that's not going to be our plan. We had people telling us our clients don't want to hear from us right now. It's insensitive to be talking to them about booking right now. But in the same day on another call with another agent, they told us about 2 bookings that they had closed because they did make those reach outs and touch bases with their clients. And yes, maybe they hit some people that just weren't ready for those conversations. But the next call didn't go that way. It went in a positive way. It went in a way that actually moved things forward. And guys, it's so important to understand in Canada, that day that we were talking about someday when cruising starts up again, some days when people start booking again, we have just announced that we're back in the water. Royal Caribbean has just announced they're back in the water. Other cruise lines have already been back in the water in certain destinations around the world. So that someday that we've all been talking about we're going to wait to really ramp up our efforts and dust ourselves off and get back in the fight for that someday is now. And it's truly showing in the bookings, because that's the real measure of what's happening in Canada. So I can tell you, and this is a very good news story, in the last 10 or 11 days out of the Canadian marketplace, the floodgates have opened. We have gone from trickle traffic bookings to a flow. And that is the sign that the tide has turned. And it comes on the heels of a few things all stacking on top of each other, which I'll talk about in a moment. But we are back in the water as of June 5th in the Caribbean out of St. Martin. We've never had sailings out of St. Martin before. We're doing things differently. We're rethinking, and we're going to be innovative on how we get back in the water. Same with getting back into business in Europe. We're going to be back in the water in June, home porting out of Athens, Greece. We haven't done this before. So this was not part of the plan, but it's pivoting to make sure that when everybody's been telling us for over a year now, they can't wait to get back to cruising, we're finding an innovative way to make that happen. And it's the same for you guys. You guys are going to have to pivot. You guys are going to have to get creative. It's not going to look the same as it did just before coronavirus came into our lives. But that's okay, because these are cool things, and you're going to find your own cool ways to get back to business. But, you know, the tide is turning. Consumer sentiment is definitely turning. Confidence is returning. And when you start to see the news, even if it has reports of, you know, a lot of cases that are turning up, even if there's some bad news in the news, which the news leads with bad news stories, there are some big headline good news stories that are going to make a difference for your business. And you see the vaccine efforts ramping up now. You see the percentages of people in Canada with their first shots getting completed. This is going to start, and has already started, a real change in the attitude of Canadians towards making commitments with credit cards on bookings for 2022. So between the fact that you see a lot now in the media about everybody getting vaccinated, you see that people are understanding, accepting, warming to the fact that there are new health and safety protocols, not for cruise ships, for life. You can't go to the grocery store without it being different than it used to look, or the shopping mall, or whatever you want to do in life. It looks a little bit different, because I think at the beginning all of this, and for sure the cruise lines took a real beating in the media. And so I think when everybody talked about what life was going to look like on cruise ships after this, it was well, my clients won't want to do that. Trust me, it's okay. We've all had to adopt a new normal and a new set of how we behave in life, and whether that's masks or distancing or how we go to a restaurant, etc. So at the end of the day, we've come a long way now in this pandemic where acceptance is there, vaccinations are happening, the floodgates are opening up with people starting to redeem their FCCs, and planning forward. When I talk about acceptance, one of the things I even had a hard time with this year, I couldn't believe that a lot of 2020 was canceled. I then had a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that there might not be concerts or vacations happening for me internationally, etc., in 21. But me and our circle of friends and family and your clients and everybody else have kind of had to come to terms with, we're planning into 22 at this point. And that's okay, because that's where a lot of your business is going to start to get done. And the good news for you, and this is absolutely a good news story, we stepped up for you guys and your clients, and we said, hey, and this is not just us, we know lots of cruise lines had all kind of incentives for people to take future cruise credits. So there are hundreds of thousands of future cruise credits just parked right now. People said, yes, we don't need our money back. We'll take the future cruise credit. We bought a lot of that loyalty by offering 125% on these things, but that money's parked. And the good news for you as a travel consultant, they have expiration dates. So that parked money has to get used, and you are going to be the person to help them get it applied to something. So the hard work of finding where your hottest leads are going to be, I know Geraldine, you said in terms of that laser focus, you don't need to, pick your top 100. You can pick your top 10 to get started. Maybe a good place to do that with would be all those FCCs out there. And you can find the highest value ones first if you like, but get busy cleaning up those lists now, because if we know the tide is turning, if we I think my audio went out there, hey? I'm back? Okay. But, these FCCs is where you want to start. And even if it's just picking your top 10, make sure you clean it up now, because as everybody's coming back online and we see the Canadian public waking up and starting to make bookings again, every cruise supplier that you're dealing with, we know you've got people with FCCs parked. Get those hot lists ready. It's going to be your go-to for sure. So we want to make sure that that's not an afterthought. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're doing right now is getting familiar with what the cruise lines did during this pause to kind of come out of it with some change. Lots of different cruise lines have rebranded. Celebrity came out with new luxury. We hadn't been to Mexico in 8 years. We decided we're going to bring Mexico back online. Lots of changes during the pause. It allowed a lot of time for thinking about how we were going to approach the marketplace. So if you're not up to speed, now is really that time to kind of finalize being up to speed with your core suppliers, so that you can start to offer product or promos or whatever it's going to be to your clients now that you know that they're going to be talking about those FCCs. And I'm going to get into your groups and why 22 is so critical for early booking in a couple minutes. But one thing I also wanted to mention, please make sure that you are doing a good job communicating with your clients about the fact that the cruise lines are taking things extremely serious in the relaunch of getting back to service and a healthy return to service. And whether that's bringing on to our board the former head of the FDA, the former head of the CDC, some of the top names in health and science to help us craft our plan on how we do this. We are slowly now, just now, starting to roll out our new health and safety protocols. We know some other suppliers have started to roll out new health and safety protocols. And guys, I can't stress strongly enough as this stuff rolls out for the new health and safety protocols, how critical it is for you to take some time, read it, absorb it, make it that it rolls off your tongue, that you know it well, because these are going to be the burning questions that are the first ones that you need to get through these layers of health and safety concerns before you can get into what you're used to talking about, which is the great itinerary or the great deal, etc. And I also just wanted to give you a tip tonight. Please remember, I know that we've all been on Facebook and we've been bombarded with social media about you know, different takes on the virus and what it's going to take to get out of this, etc. But let's remember one thing about our roles here. We work in the travel industry. You guys are consultants. We're the cruise suppliers, but we're not doctors. We're not scientists. And let's not try to be. Because one thing we started to see was that even some really good senior travel agents out there were starting to make it sound like they were selling a trip on a floating medical hospital. And at the end of the day, nobody's interested in putting down an FCC or a credit card to go away on one of those ships. So it's really critical to know the health and safety protocols that all of your preferred suppliers are working on, and what we will have approved by the CDC is not to make it a floating hospital, spick and span, no germs experience. It's to have protocols in place on the kinds of products that you sell the dream for already. So regardless of brand, we're going to stick to focusing on making sure to bring that brand experience, but do it in a way that is going to be safe and healthy. But we don't need to go so deep down the verbiage that we start to sound like doctors. The other thing that I have is really good news for you tonight is that, you know, you're going to see upgrade opportunities like you've never seen before. After much of 2020 has been canceled and a lot of 21 plans have been canceled, people's annual vacation, and for Canadians, some of us take more than one vacation a year, those funds stayed parked. And while those funds stayed parked, people basically got homeschooling kids stuck in with their spouses for a year, working from home and sharing the space, etc. Let me tell you, if there was ever an opportunity now to upsell people and upgrade people, they have the money that wasn't spent, and they very much feel like they are in desperate need of a vacation. So we already see it coming through. If you look at the last 4 months, the product that is selling is suites, is higher end bookings, is longer cruises, is luxury product. And I think if you don't have a lot of experience in this area, feel free to step out on a limb and try something and try to upgrade and try and move up, because the public has already said this is where we're going. We see it in the stats. Now, supply and demand is also a really important thing, because I think a lot of you guys depend heavily on your Expedia exclusive stateroom group blocks and your pricing. And that does win the battle a lot of times in the marketplace for you. However, it's really critical to remember when ships come back for 22, a lot of them are going to be coming back at greatly reduced capacities, could be up to 50% reduced capacity. So there's half a ship that we're not even going to be selling. So the ships will sell out easier, the group space will go faster, and you're already seeing a situation where a lot of pricing for 22 is much higher. But that's because we're trending faster than we thought we would after everybody having to cancel 2020 and now 21 vacations. Everybody's lifting and shifting and moving into 22. So it's really critical that it's a race for space, and you want to do that early. Now, in terms of kind of getting out of the gate now and making sure that you're ready for this tidal wave of inquiry and bookings that everybody's been talking about with pent-up demand, the only thing that I would say, guys, is we all play a role in this. It's just like the frontline workers when it was hey, who's going to solve the problem here? Who's going to deal with these patients with this unknown virus? There wasn't superheroes stepping in to save the day. It was individual people at work in our healthcare system to say, I got this, I'm going to be a part of the solution. It's the same for the travel industry. Each and every one of you guys, please don't be waiting for some big company, some big supplier to kind of save the day to get things restarted. It's a team effort, it's a group effort. We all play a role. And I hope some of the tools between what Geraldine shared, what some of the stuff I'm sharing, and what Kathy will share tonight will help get you there. But 2020 is where Canadians are booking into now. I talked about the reduction in capacity and how that affects supply and demand. If you've heard anybody say, wow, I'm really surprised that the prices are already so high for 22, make sure that you're helping them understand that the plan is not to wait. The plan is to secure something now, because pricing and inventory is going to go nowhere but up and disappear. So that's a really critical part of your individual plans to make sure you're having those conversations. Now, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. The good news is that light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, we're sailing in June. Cruise lines are starting up again. We're almost there. The bad news is that beautiful job that you enjoyed so much, we're probably not going to go back to exactly that role for a while. So you just need to know that you do have a new job, or at least a new part of your job, and that's going to be doing things in a new way. And that is going to really focus on bringing comfort or confidence to your clients that it's okay to go ahead and make those bookings now, and why they need to do it with you. I reread your promise yesterday as I was kind of preparing some of the slides. I think this thing is awesome. And I think that there's the occasional consultant that doesn't actually know fully the promise. So I think it's time to get re-engaged with the promise and remember that this needs to roll off your tongue, because there are other travel agents out there that are going to be fighting for those FCCs. The top cruise experts in this marketplace is Expedia Cruises, but you can't be shy about letting people know why. And our promise from Expedia Cruises is one way to help you get there. And so make sure that's rolling off your tongue really easy. And just like you have your promise, we kind of created ours. And this was a tool from both Royal Caribbean and Celebrity to be our promise about how do we make it easy for you guys to get back to what you do right now. So Cruise with Confidence never used to be a thing. It certainly wasn't a policy that we loved, but it was a policy that needed to happen. And in uncertain times, I think one of the hardest conversations that you have with your clients is, how do we go ahead and proceed ahead and make a booking and put a credit card down on something for 22 when you're not even sure yet? Maybe you haven't been vaccinated yet. Maybe you have some uncertainty. This was meant to address that. And Cruise with Confidence, and I know other suppliers have come out with other great initiatives to kind of support this type of approach, but we're allowing people to cancel for any reason, up to 48 hours prior, and the client won't lose anything. 100% of their funds goes back into a future cruise credit to use with us later. There's never been that kind of flexibility in the travel industry or the cruise industry, but it's by necessity that we created this program, and it will help you right now when you're having those conversations about FCCs, et cetera, because it's extremely flexible, but you have to help your clients. You have to handhold them to take the leap that it's okay because we've got you covered. The other thing that's in there, and I hear this all the time, clients feel that because the cruise lines got beat up pretty bad in the media, that cruises are going to be 99 cents and it'll be super easy to buy them. The reality is we're going the other way with reduced inventory, but if a client believes that they're going to lose out for booking early and the price will go down later, the best price guarantee is built in with that Cruise with Confidence that up until 48 hours prior, if we drop the rate, nobody's being penalized for booking early. You can just have the file adjusted. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about as flexible as a policy can possibly get. We designed it for you to help make your conversations with your clients very easy. And Geraldine had said, guys, make sure you've got a plan, make sure you're focused. I think the word was laser focused, but when you're getting laser focused, and Kathy will probably give you some good tips on this too, we just had our really large scale virtual consumer booking event with Expedia on March 25th. And in case you hadn't heard through the grapevine, it was the largest attendance of any virtual consumer event that Expedia has had, period. So your biggest show was the celebrity show on March 25th. Yay! Thank you for everybody to support that event. But we put together a really strong booking offer for you. You have until April 2nd. Kathy is going to motivate the hell out of you tonight. Geraldine's already motivated the hell out of me tonight. And when you start to craft your plan about who are you going to talk to, did you clean up the FCC list, what are we going to be offering, just please don't forget, you've still got a few days here. So it's end of day April 2nd that you can lock in that virtual cruise show. This isn't a celebrity training tonight, but I don't want you to lose all the best practices you're learning tonight without putting it into practice for yourself tomorrow. And that's a great place to start, is the hot leads from the virtual cruise event. So we started off with the question being, how do you know when it's the time? I hope that we covered enough ground tonight to say now is the time. There's all the right reasons why the tide is turning. I see it, I feel it, it shows in the booking numbers. We're back to a flow, and this is a lot of really positive stuff to be talking about. So that's my time with you guys tonight. And, you know, I think I've been 25 years in the travel industry and 14 of it has been in the cruise industry. I will just close off by saying, I think the best, everybody loves the cruises, everybody loves the product, everybody loves the brands, but the best thing about this industry is the people, and let's all lean on each other. I feel really proud to be working with you guys. I feel really proud to be invited tonight to get to talk to you alongside Geraldine and alongside Miss Denroche, because they're, you know, some of the very best in the industry. But please remember, guys, this is not about what Chad can do or Celebrity can do or Geraldine can do. It's about what we can do to help you guys do what you need to do, because we all play a role. We are here to support you, and we're really, really excited to make your comeback a strong one. And I feel really good that 2022 is going to be a huge year for you guys. So on that note, I'm going to stop my screen sharing, and I'm going to pass you over to one of the best looking women in the travel industry, who has a COVID length of hair that I'm loving. Kathy Denroche, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Chad. You're so sweet. Hey, listen, guys, it's wonderful to see you. And I am just completely honored to be sharing, you know, our evening with Chad and Geraldine and all of you. And thank you all so much for taking an incredible time out of your schedule to be with us. I just want to get here so I can see my slideshow. Hold on one sec. I can't. There it is. Okay. Come on, slideshow. There we go. Can everybody see it? Well, you know, can you see it, Randy? Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, I just want to say, wow, you know, I have known so many of you in the audience, and I've known Geraldine, I've known Chad for many, many years. And I'm always just awe-inspired by all of my colleagues. They constantly boost me and make me almost bounce a ball and get kind of in the game always. So I want to thank Geraldine and Chad, because I think that their messages tonight are really good. I love the someday is now, and it's so true. And Chad, all the things you were saying is about, you know, if we think we're going to have deals coming out of our ears, we're not. It's just the demand is so great. You know, it's interesting, and Geraldine will shoot me for this, but now that I can add her book, Flying Colors, in my list of books to read, and I also want to read the Atomic one too, because I do have some bad habits. There's one book I read every year, and it's the only business book I read, and it's about from Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when I look at it and I think, wow, you know, we have to, the 5th habit out of his 7 is the one that always resonates with me all the time. And that is in seeking to understand and then be understood. Now, you've heard me maybe talk about this before, but one of the things that I love about this is that I see so many times back in the past, and I try when I move forward to totally engage in this one rule, and that is, we have to understand where our guests are. We have to understand where our business are. We have to understand facts, and we have to understand how we can lead our guests to the right vacation for them. And so in order to be understood, we have to stand back and understand first. And I think it's a really strong message for us. And when we understand ourselves, the thing is that we have to acknowledge where we are, who we are, and what we're good at, what our strengths are. And if we leave a mark on people that's positive or negative. And one of the biggest questions I always have is when I get off a call, I always think, did I leave a good impression? How am I perceived from these guests? Did I talk over them? Was I talking under them? Was I too, fast, whatever? But one of the things that I want you to understand is where you're at this moment. Geraldine started out with that. You know, I know Randy and Stefan and the whole gang in Alberta. And for those of you in Vancouver, you know exactly where you're leading your team. But when we're leading as a team, sometimes we don't look as individuals. And what this message has been so clear about today is that we are all individual people working our own business. So we have to acknowledge where we are at this very moment. And in order to do that and understand how we're going to take our clients where we want them to go, is we have to understand where our guests are at this moment. And when people tell me, and I see a lot of advisors right across the country, and now I cover 5 US states as well. And everybody's in such different situations and different levels of their life and coming back into the industry either now or when they, never left or all the kind of stuff. The one thing is that when someone says kind of they're not ready to hear about it, I kind of go, no, that's not quite right, because statistics are showing that everybody's ready to hear about it. When we think about us being the 2nd largest industry in the world could not survive without the travel business. It's the 2nd largest business. We incorporate 20% of the world's population in this one business. The fact is, the pendulum was stuck for a while. It went back and it stalled. Just like Geraldine was saying, we free fell, and we just kind of flew down on our knees. But the pendulum in life will always swing. And now we see this huge shard of light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not even at the end of the tunnel. And Chad had in one of his slides, the marathon. The marathon we're in right now is actually mile 20. We've already gone through mile 1 to 20. We're actually in mile 20 to 26 now. This is the most crucial time we have to hang in, because this last year, we didn't really know. It was kind of a novelty, and we were hoping for 21 to come in and take away, our stresses. 21 came, and we're still not sailing, but we're going to. And the pendulum has started to swing. And as Chad said, it's flowing. It's not intermittent now, it's flowing. The fact is, when someone says to me, my clients aren't ready to really hear about travel, I think it's because partially, if we were truly honest with ourselves, we're not ready. So we're not ready to talk about stuff that might be something that you look at and kind of acknowledge, where am I? Am I not ready, or am I ready? See, when someone also says to me that they're zoomed out, I just put a wall up and I go, no, you're not, Because if you're truly engaged as an advisor, as a consultant, as a psychologist for your guests, you can't have room for zoomed out. You got to pick those partners and you got to go deep down into this relationship, and you've got to cultivate this partnership that you rely on each other, whether good or bad, whether you don't agree with a policy or you do agree with a policy. It's an ebb and flow that works beautifully in a partnership. And what you have to decide is whether you're in or whether you're out. And someone said to me a long time ago, when I started Weight Watchers years ago, they said, you have to be either in or out. There's no room for dwelling. There's no room for sitting on a fence. But the one thing I will tell you, and if it's my biggest takeaway tonight, is knowledge is master. It's the key to everything, and facts are essential. So when we look at how we're going to start this business back, and we're already starting it, we got to be ready to rebuild and acknowledge who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going to go. And we got to recover, and then we're going. So the one thing here, and this is what Oceana did, and this is what Celebrity did, and this is what every partner of yours is doing, is they all almost had to rebuild who they were in order to get ready of where they're going to take you. Understanding first where we are in order to be understood. And you know what we're not doing? We're not getting out of our head with the right now. Let me give you a quick example. 3 weeks ago, we in January announced our Around the World cruise for 2023. It sold out in a day, like every other cruise line sold out in their Around the World cruises. But this wasn't even segmented cruises. This was the full 180 days with 685 guests. You know what's really interesting about that? That's the first time in history every cruise line who has sold out of the World Cruise doesn't even offer segments, because everybody, what Chad was saying and Geraldine was saying, we're coming into this flow where they couldn't spend their money in 2020, they couldn't spend their money in 2021 right now, and they got so much money to put into 2022 and 23, they're going to flow with it. But this lady came and she booked her Around the World cruise with an agency over on Vancouver Island. And she said, I think I'm going to have to cancel it. And because, and the agent went along with it. She couldn't cancel it because I'm not sure about my vaccination. It's a mess right now in BC. It's a mess in Canada. We've got travel advisories. And the advisor, who is a very senior advisor in this business, phoned me and told me the story. And she said, I think I'm going to have to cancel. I said, no, you're not. You're not going to cancel that person before you phone her and get your head out of right now and get her head of right now, because what she's really buying is something 2 years down the road. 2 years down the road. She can hang on that booking for a whole year and think about it, because she's not ever going to get that space back. And then what happens in a year's time? She still has a year to make up her mind. We have got to get out of right now and look at what we're actually selling. And I want to remind that to everybody, because we are followers for the majority of life. We all follow what we hear. We're guilty of listening to the media and the world events, and that cruise lines are, you know, big petri dishes, and that, you know, all these things are going to happen, and and we listen blindly. But what we have to do as leaders, as being an advisor, is we have to understand that 30 million people sailed on ships in 2019. And in the beginning of 2020, 30 million people were booked for cruises. 2,800 of those people in March were tested positive with COVID. And unfortunately, 65 people died from it. But the thing is, and you've heard me say this before, when you look at the facts, you can boldly, bigger, better, all the things that we have tied up in us as partners and with our armor on and guarded, we can actually deliver facts that make people change their minds. Every time I do a consumer evening, I talk about the safety of cruising. We're the only entity in the travel business that has to report to the CDC, and we've been doing it for almost 50 years. There is not a hotel, a resort, any airline that has ever had to report to them. Why are cruise lines getting picked on? Because we're easy targets. We got a certain amount of people, certain amount of space, certain amount of time. The fact is, when you look at 0.0008%, that's a record safety. Now, we don't have to know everything. And this is the one thing, there's a lot of uncertainty in our business right now. But I like the uncertainty, because one of the things I'm finding with our guests and our agencies out there is they think they have to have all the facts. One thing that I've always been a person is I'm always not the journey person. I want to go from door 1 to door 8 as fast as I can. Don't give me the journey. I want to go there. I don't want to go through each door. But as Geraldine will tell you when she talks about her falling and her stall and her crawl and her rise and her flying, is that each one of these doors is so incredibly important in the step to our success that we have, no matter what door you're in, it doesn't have to be the end door. It can be any door. And then we move from door to door as we evolve. And I have to say that that's the beautiful part of it. We don't have to be the top travel advisor in the world. We have to be better than what we are now, though. And that is making sure that we understand we might not know the answer to what cruising is going to look like in the future. It's okay. As Chad said, when you look at the healthy safe panel, and you look at I always say, listen, I don't have one consumer ever ask me about that. Not on any consumer thing I've ever done in the last 10 months. I've never had any consumer ask me about our healthy safe panel, because they all go to the website of every one of our suppliers and they look, and it's changing every week. And that's all I have to say. They don't need any more, because cruising is safe. And the one thing, when I look at the Royal Caribbean group that Chad's in and the Norwegian Cruise Line group that we're in, and we joined together to bring these 12 scientists from all over the world together to recommend 74 different kinds of things we could put on the ship, it's going to be safer than you've ever seen in your life. We're also explorers at heart, all of us. But the thing is, when people say, well, do I have to be vaccinated? You don't have the answers for that yet, because we don't know. We're going to be governed by airlines who might say you have to have a vaccination certificate. We might be governed by countries who say, we're not ready to let you in quite yet. There are countries that are closed right now. But does that mean in 2022 they're going to be closed? When I pull my head out of right now and I look at where we're going, it's going to be free fall. It's going to be fantastic for all of us, because there are going to be vaccinations. There's all going to be sorts of things. And what we have to do is we have to trust that we don't know even if shore excursions are going to be sitting in groups like MSC started out and did a brilliant job of. Celebrity, as Chad said, and I don't know if he mentioned this, but I read it and I was so impressed that people are able to walk off the ship on their own when they go into these places. Now, that's not because Celebrity just said they can do it. It's because the background of the facts of not followers, but fact finders, were that they had to go to each of those cities and say, can we get off the ship and do our own thing? What I want to tell you is that every single supplier is pulling together shore excursions for every single scenario out there. So whether we have to go off in groups or whether things change, we've got it planned. And the trusting that you have to have in your cruise line partners and your tour operators is paramount. You don't have to have the answer, but you have to have a plan, and you have to have confidence, and you have to have clarity. And that's the only way we're going to carve a clear path to our success. So when Geraldine and Steph and everybody said our theme is bounce back, and I loved your basketball, Geraldine, makes me want to go bounce a ball right now. We have to be light on our step. We have to take a new attitude of bouncing back on our own. We have to take pick any door you want, and we have to jump through it. We just have to say that right now the bounce back is more paramount than it's ever been. And the one thing, and this is what I love about being the last speaker, because I get to tie in what everybody has said tonight, and they're so amazing, each one of every single point everybody made. And that's the biggest picture. And that's selling the vision of every picture. That's what Mike Drever did so beautifully to everyone. When you have a narrow mind, you cannot think outside of your own reality. But when you actually look at the big picture and you see hundreds of thousands of people booking for 2022 and 2023 and not caring, the fact is that I want to say that to myself every day. The big picture is where it's at. And your partners, the ones you choose to work with, your team, your supplier friends, those people have your best interests at heart. Now, when I look at kind of the trends and what I talk about here, I kind of go, okay, wow, the insider's guide to Oceania cruises, but this is for interesting stuff. 40% of all our business right now is coming new to us from other cruise lines. Now, that's not to say people are leaving Celebrity and moving on to Oceania because there's so many people coming to Celebrity, but there's a lot of people out there right now. And this is where, if we're tuned in to our partnerships and we're tuned in as an advisor and we've got the bounce back on our step, we're going to watch for trends more than we're going to watch for anything. And the trend is that some people are looking for smaller experiences. And that's your opportunity now to look and say, what is it about those Oceania cruises? What are these pillars that you have? What are small ships about? And this is the kind of stuff when you start looking at small ship luxury. One of the things that I've always said in this industry, I love every single ship out there. I started with small ships and I ended up with big ships, and I'm still in the middle of big ships and small ships and river ships and barges and every kind of travel there is. I love the intimacy of smaller ships. Does that mean that big ships don't have that? It's what we all have. And that when we know where our clients are at and we want to lead them to something different than they've been before, then that's the kind of opportunity we have. Now, interestingly enough, every single supplier out there, and this is what I love about big and small ships, we all have amazing things and we're also different from each other, and everybody's got something to offer. But one thing I love about it is when I look at destinations now, I go, why don't we just switch it up? Oceania is known for their small ships and their curated travel experiences and their great food, but actually that's selling just product and everything we do. Why don't you try, and as you build that first 10 guests on your list, and I saw some of the chats in there going, well, I don't have CCs. How do I get new clients? Well, maybe what you should do is start looking at every cruise line, every one of your suppliers, the 3 supply friends that you pick, and you go down deep in that relationship. Look at the shore excursions, look at their overland experiences, and start selling from that. Maybe we have to twist it up a little bit to say, hey, listen, you told me you were interested in Machu Picchu. Now I want to take you there, but it's going to be on a ship, and you sell the product as the second one. See, what we have to do is we have to pick out that we know that our guests are different. So we've got wellness people, we've got Epicurean people, we got curiosity people, we got World War II freaks, we've got all these same independents, we've got young people, we've got older people. We have to know who our clients are. And when you look at the launches that come out for each one of your suppliers, you'll start to see that there makes a huge difference. Now, let me tell you, the only reason I'm going to bring Oceania into this for a minute is because some of the destinations, when you go down deep in a relationship, you'll start seeing by launch what we do. Same with Celebrity Cruises. When you look at one-off cruises and everybody has these connecting beautiful itineraries, you think, I didn't know you had a 35-day cruise, and I didn't know you went around Australia, and I didn't know that it's only a one-off itinerary, that it's a small ship and I have to sell it now. When your ears to the ground in a partnership, you got to make sure that you are pulling together as much as you can to understand the need to sell way out in advance, which brings us to the rebuild, recover, and go stage. So rebuilding everything, not just looking at itinerary, you guys, and going, wow, isn't this cool? Not just looking at itineraries that you could do 43 days on. You got to be the step ahead. You got to be the ones that are leading your clients into the bounce to get them to actually understand the need to go on a longer cruise. A couple of years ago, and I always have a theme for myself every year. This year, my theme is the new familiar. We're never going to go back to the same, as Chad said. We're going to have things that are different, and it's going to be better than ever. But 2 years ago, in 2019, you know what my theme for the year was? It was like, why go home? Do you know how many people on every cruise line, and I'm sure this happens on every cruise line, especially with Celebrity too, people come at the end of their cruise and they go, I don't want to get off. Can I stay on? So if you're an advisor that is engaged and you're in and you're not dwelling on the fence of whether you want to be in this business or not, or whether you could make more money on CERB than you could on being involved, then you'll know that when you sell a 43-day cruise, or when you're on a cruise, you might want to tell those people, why get off? Why don't you do an overland excursion when you get into Halong Bay? Why don't you go to Angkor Wat and do that? Extra sales for you, but that's not the whole reason. The fact is, people want guidance, you guys. People want to know, can they get to the Antarctic? Isn't this the most outstanding itinerary? Look at this, around the Horn. That's where I got my bold theme that Geraldine loves, that I did at our Expedia conference, up on stage going, wow, I was enlightened by the boldness of people in South America. But this is the first time we're going to the Antarctic. And this, my friends, is my beautiful son, Ethan, who's in a guide, an expedition guide in both poles during the year. And this is Ethan hiking up one of the glaciers. But over the last 5 years he's been in the Antarctic, he has told Paul and I how much we have to go there. I never had any interest in it, never had any interest in the Canadian or the Norwegian Arctic either. I thought I'd done all my travels. But all of a sudden, looking at Ethan's photography and listening to him lecture about some of the things about the history of the Antarctic and the Arctic, I said, I want to go there. I want to see it. So my travels aren't over as a guest. But interestingly enough, what Ethan's secret was he started to guide me. He understood that I still had a curiosity, and he started to guide me in a new way. That's what we have to do with our guests. We have to open up their minds to what's out there. North Cape, where all the cruise lines have these incredible itineraries. Why are you going to the North Cape? Don't just call it the North Cape. Look at the fjords, the deepest fjords. This is Geiranger Fjord in Norway. When you're going to Greenland and Iceland and over to the North Cape, this is a cruise that you will never find in your life. You know why? Because people, when they want to see fjords, will go to Greenland, and they'll go for 4 days in Greenland and have 6,000-foot mountains sitting out of these beautiful deep fjords with muskox just cragging onto the edge of these cliffs. And those are the kinds of things that, until you start understanding where cruise lines are going in their itineraries and taking you into these remote places like Iceland, which we think is popular, and it is, the fact is we can't sell it as a destination without looking at it first, understanding why people want to go there. So when I start looking at Holy Land and looking at wellness seekers who might want to go off on an island and do some, meditation in someone's private olive grove, that might not be for me, but it's for other people. We got to know who our clients are. We got to know when they want longer cruises. We want to know when there's new itineraries like Abu Dhabi to Dubai coming out. These are things you won't ever get the chance to look at. So when you look at celebrity as your partner and you dig down deep, you'll know that some of their itineraries are so amazing, and some of the things that they do that are so different. You'll know that when Oceania offers new itineraries for 20 days in the Caribbean that stop in Panama City for the first time in our life, pretty cool. And when you're plugged in and you see longer cruises and around the world cruises, you got to know the launch is coming. I want to get it out to those 10 people. I'm going to get 10 people and 100,000. And what Geraldine was saying, just building with purpose. You have to have a purpose in this industry, you guys. And when I look at value and the things that each one of our cruise lines have, whether it's just for Oceania or whether it's for whatever partner you have, you got to know these products inside and out. It's time to dig deep while you are waiting and prepare to be the best salesperson ever. Now, enough about Oceania itineraries and celebrity and their itineraries and everything else. I want to end up with a couple of things here. I've always used a slide like this. This is my speaking all colors slide. This is like the big picture to me. This is the big vision. I cannot tell you how many times I see people in our industry who only speak one color. I look at this and I think this is evolution of life. I'm now in the red zone. I'm 65 years old and I'm still a babe in my own mind, but I'm older and I want someone who understands older. I don't necessarily want to be on big crowded places anymore, whether it's a resort airline or a big ship. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but I want an agent to understand what my needs are. I also want to, as Kathy Denroach, be able to talk to brand new consultants who get in this business. I don't ever want anyone to think I'm too above the newness to come and not be able to talk to you. I want to be able to talk to new consultants. I want to talk to new guests who've never cruised before. I don't have to sell those on Oceania. I would easily sell them on somebody else. I know that that's not our market, but I always want to grab on to every color. And as the green people get more experienced cruising and selling travel and all the things in our team and pulling up, then we know that we help each other evolve. And that's where, as Geraldine had mentioned, we all kind of hit this beautiful sharing success with others. And I think that's what I love about this slide so much, is that I'm really proud of all of you, and I'm really proud of myself that I can actually want to still be like this 45 years later. I want to look at this picture and always remember that I was a green tree and I know nothing about ships. And I walked it in a Princess Cruises many, many years ago when we were the Love Boat. And Mark Quayle, who was so beautiful, said, "You're going on a ship tour now to lead one." And I said, "Are you kidding? I don't even know where the front or the back of the ship is." Someone had to help me. I asked for help. I'm always going to be a green person. And the one thing that we have to do, and all of this ties together now, this is a word that we use at Oceana. Our president, Bob, uses it every time he talks. It's Kaizen. It's a Japanese word for the commitment to gradual but constant improvement. What I love about this is we don't have to change who we are, you guys. You don't have to change anything. What we have to do is tweak. Every single one of us talking tonight has talked about just tweaking things, changing little things, getting that habit, moving that habit. I want to read that Atomic book because I want to tweak things that I haven't done yet. And I'm constantly trying to always make things a bit better and more fresh. So when I look at the health and safety panel, I don't have to worry about it. I know the cruise lines I know the cruise lines have it together. And all I'm going to ever tell someone is, why don't you look at that cruise line's website? I'm going to look at these travel assurance programs and what Chad was saying and what we're saying. We've got your back. If there's a best price and you're selling something right now for 2023 and they're booking right now, you don't have to worry that in 2023, if only we drop our prices, you're going to have to worry about that. You won't. The thing is that the bottom line of all of this tonight is that we have to be bolder communicators. We have to understand that when someone calls us, they want to do business with us. They're not phoning Vision. They're not phoning Carlson Travel. They're phoning you at Expedia Cruises. And number two is my father, and I had 7 kids in my family, used to poke sticks on her back and he'd go, "Kids, I'm going to tell you this, you're never going to get a second chance to make a first impression. So you got to make the first one count." Now, all sorts of times in our life, we haven't made great first impressions, but I can tell you that it's one thing that sits in the front of my mind, the legacy of my father sitting there just going, we always have to try. We have to speak all languages. We have to speak all the colors of the rainbow. And we have to also know that we have relationships that are really important to us. And if you don't treat your guests with the uttermost respect, then you're not going to get them. Now, the other side of that is if you have a guest who's wasting your time, get rid of them. If you have a guest who's shopping around and keeps bugging you, I had a guest last week who was going to 4 different agencies, and it drove me crazy until I actually reached out and said, "We know what you're doing and we're stopping this. You pick an agent and work with them, but you cannot keep shopping around. You're disrupting it." And I want to let her go. Just get rid of guests that are wasting your time. Don't have time wasters. The only thing I will mention at the very end here, and I think it's probably the way we tie it up, is you have got to get talking to your guests. If anything else you don't do, pick up the phone. What Geraldine said about starting with 10, you don't have to have 1,000. Start with 10. Who are those 10 people going to be that you're going to phone? Pick up the phone and talk to them. And I'm sure a lot of you have done that. I know so many of you, we all do. We all know you guys. We know how incredible you are and how incredibly engaged you are. And I want to thank you for having these rallies that you get, that we are honored enough to get to be invited to speak to you, because truly, one of the things I see with you guys is you do pick up the phone. You're doing amazing business. But the fact is, I want you to pick up the phone to those 10 people tomorrow. And are you going to talk to them about celebrity? You're going to talk to them about Oceana. It doesn't matter who's the partner you want to work with. Dig down deep. And I want you to get Geraldine's book too, because she sounds amazing. And I really want to read Flying Colors, Geraldine, so I can hardly wait to get it myself. But I have to say, you don't have anything to lose. You have everything to gain in talking to your guests. And if you're going to be one of those people who says they're not ready, it's you that's not ready. So you have to be honest with yourself and make sure that at the end of the day, we're all together, we're all partners, we all have each other's back, and we are here for you. And thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing now, and but I want you to just think about this one thing, and that is the bold attitude of being light on your feet, walking out of here tonight, just going, I have a new bounce in my step, and tomorrow is going to be a whole new day, and I'm going to make a difference to some of my guests, and I'm going to start sharing stuff that I haven't shared with them yet. And when they challenge me on stuff I don't know, it's okay. I don't have to know it all. I just have to know who you are as my guest, and I have to know what I can give you, and I want to be made sure that you understand that I'm giving you the best thing and that I've got your back to the guests. So you guys, thank you so much. I'll give it back to you, Randy. Or Stefan, I'm not sure which one.
Probably me. That's okay. So listen, that's such a great message from all three of you guys. Listen, we're so grateful that you would make time for us tonight to come and talk to a little bit less than 200 people, but still, I know each and every one of us really appreciate it right from the heart. I did want to ask Geraldine, if you want to unmute for just one sec, please. I know tomorrow you have this big, amazing event in your life, and I really want to make sure that the folks on the call understand what time it's at. You have a book launch coming out tomorrow. I know you're on GeraldineReed.com, but can you tell us a little bit about your book launch? And I think Kathy's involved in this somehow.
Yes, thank you so much, Stefan. Wasn't that amazing? Chad and Kathy, just fabulously inspiring. I learned a lot today, and just, yeah, again, echoing what Kathy said, it's just an honor and just so great to see everybody out tonight. So really quickly, tomorrow, I thought you were saying tomorrow, so tomorrow is my wedding anniversary, 31 years, 31 on March 31. So I'm giving a plug for camp. But on April 1st, my beautiful, it was the MC at my wedding, and she's going to interview me on my book, Flying Colors, and which is really lovely. And it's at 1 o'clock. You're all invited. It's really just a
That's Thursday, right, Geraldine?
On Thursday at 1 o'clock. I can, Stefan can send the link. But what I wanted to say is that it's a backstage view. If you've ever wanted to write a book or had a passion project, it'll be a really interesting chat. And Kathy's done a beautiful job of it. It's also a conversation about having conversations. And the people that are coming out are just really amazing industry people that all love one another. We've been doing this for 40 years together, and to see, it's just so heartwarming. I just really encourage people who've started, come out and see us and just listen in, and yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
I have to say that, Stefan, when I was the MC at Geraldine's wedding, I wouldn't let her speak. Can you believe that? She tried a number of times to come up on stage and speak. And I said, no, you have to be a bride You have to be the bride. And this is not a speech.
Oddly enough, I do believe that. So,
yes, I know. Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that. I honestly did think it was tomorrow, but it is April 1st at 1 o'clock Pacific time.
1 o'clock PST. Yes.
Right. So I'm going to send out a link to all the franchise partners once Geraldine sends it to me, and we'll make sure that we try and get some people on your book launch so that they can see you guys having a nice chat and hopefully inspire them to order your book. I know I've ordered mine, so
thank you.
Great, thank you guys. Well, that's going to be a wrap.
I just wanted to take one moment to just mention, you know, we work with all of the Expedia consultants and partners all across North America. And for all the consultants that are on with us tonight, the one thing that I think you should be really proud of is the fact that these rallies aren't happening everywhere. This is something that your franchise partners believe in you, and they believe that it takes effort and initiative and putting together things like this to make sure that you stay ahead of the pack and that you do take it to the next level. And without the you know, just the blood, sweat, and tears of your franchise partners always being proactive, you would just be one of those areas that doesn't have stuff like this going on. So I want to applaud the efforts. I want to say a big thank you to all of the franchise partners for putting this together. And I'm sure I speak for Kathy and Geraldine as well to say thank you to all the consultants that took time out of their evening and away from their families to be here with us, because that shows that you've already taken the most important step to say, I'm in, I'm going to get engaged. And whatever you took away from tonight, we wish you well with it. But I want to say a big thanks to the franchise partners as well.
And also, Chad, I just want to say one thing that you mentioned in your talk, which I loved, was you have a new role. That was one of your slides, and I think moving forward, even right now, you guys are going to have the biggest role of all in the entire industry. You're going to be the most important segment of the industry, because so many people, when they booked direct back in 2020, early 2020, you know, with airlines and stuff, do you remember we heard on the news they were all stuck for hours and days in hotels? They had a travel agent, they just picked up the phone and the agent got them home. You guys are going to play the most important role. So that's the armor that you put on every day starting tomorrow morning. You are the person. You're the first person they're going to talk to. So that was a good slide, Chad. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, guys, for having us.
Thank you, guys. And again, really appreciate everyone making time tonight. This was important for us, I think, to get everybody together. And I thought the evening was fantastic. So thank you. And we'll leave it at that. All right. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you.